Switching to a stylized look completely changed the way I work. Suddenly, it's much more about creativity rather than chasing realism. And shots that used to take me weeks are now possible in just days. And it's so much fun. After the release of my last video, a lot of you ask how exactly do I approach creating these stylized shots. And that's what I'm gonna answer in today's short breakdown. Every shot begins, of course, with an idea. Sometimes I sketch it down in 2D quickly just to get the composition right. Other times, I jump straight into 3D and block out a very simple layout. This is where I decide on the framing, the mood, the overall feel of the shot. It doesn't have to look perfect, it usually just has to capture the rough shape, color, and timing of what I'm aiming for. Then I bring in an animation. For that I rely on tools like iClone and Mixamo, where I usually take their animations and adjust them for my needs. And these tools let me set up simple movements and export them directly into Blender. Once I have the basic motion in place, I can start replacing those rough placeholders with my own stylized characters. Speaking of animation, I really enjoy taking a character and animating it by hand. No motion capture, just poses and keyframes. For this style, I'm using what's called animating on 2s, 3s or 4s. This basically means animating every second, third or fourth frame, which gives the motion that slight choppiness so typical of traditional animated films. And helping to guide me on this journey is an excellent course I want to highlight here, the animation course from toAnimate, where animator and tutor Brian Cooey takes you from the very basics to more advanced topics like walk cycles, studying animation reference, and finally animating provided characters with full expressions. I'm really glad I finally started digging deeper into this topic, which, quite frankly, I avoided for many years. With this course though, the topic of animation really becomes so much easier. And now you can get an exclusive discount by using the promo code that you can find in the description of this video. By the way, Brian also runs a YouTube channel connected to toAnimate, so definitely check it out if you'd like to give it a try. For all of my characters and assets, I use the same Shader-to-RGB node setup for the materials. This gives me a consistent base style across the whole project. To add a bit more richness, I either blend textures on top, or I keep things flatter and use grease pencil lines to emphasize edges and details. When it comes to environments, instead of building every tree and every rock in 3D, I lean heavily on camera projections. I put together simple objects, render them from a chosen camera angle, and then paint over them in Photoshop. This way, I can achieve nice painterly details very quickly and then project them back onto my geometry in Blender. Yes, this technique relies on using only this specific camera angle. Everything outside the camera view looks very trippy, but this is so much faster without forcing me to model and texture every single detail. I then usually add painterly vegetation and trees to tie everything together. I'll highlight my favorite resources and add-ons in the very next video here on this channel. Next up, clouds. They're one of the most important parts of the atmosphere in my shots. Almost all of them are 2D, hand-painted in Photoshop and then layered in Blender. They give my shots that dreamy, painterly quality that I love so much. A big part of this workflow is also the use of grease pencil, Blender's tool which you can use to draw and paint in 3D space. There are several methods that I use this tool, from completely hand-drawn and frame-by-frame animated elements to some more automated methods. Definitely something I'll focus on in my future videos, or you can already watch a deep dive on my Patreon. Once all of this is in place, I adjust animations, tweak materials, refine the lighting, and make sure all the different elements, from characters to assets, the backgrounds and the clouds, blend into one coherent whole. And that's really what this new workflow is about blending various methods to achieve that stylized painterly look in the end. It allows me to create something that looks and feels like Heroes of Bronze, but it also feels more artistic to me, more hands-on, and generally, yeah, I'm so glad I switched to this new style. So let me know what you think and what parts of this workflow would you be most interested in breaking down. And if you want to know more about my switch from realism to stylization, you can also watch my previous video. But that's it for today. Stay creative, my friends. Martin out.